Jackson and Shauna Varone of Boston Collegiate Charter School. And so we are going to have a bit of a conversation for the next little while here on question number 2 on the ballot, which I think would be safe to say is probably the ballot question that is getting and will get the most attention between now and the election. It has already. I think it's unquestionably going to be the ballot question that will see the most money spent, millions of dollars coming on both sides. And I'll just, again, very briefly try to summarize the question. It deals with charter schools in Massachusetts. If passed, the question would allow the state to authorize up to 12 new charter schools or expansions of existing charter schools, and this would be above the existing state cap that exists on schools across the state. Just tell us, why should folks here and across the state vote yes to allow the expansion of charter schools in Massachusetts?
So first, I think it's important that people understand what we're actually asking to do. So we're not trying to have an apocalypse in the city of Boston and undo the Boston Public Schools. We are asking, and you said this, for the state to be allowed, the Board of Education to be allowed to authorize up to 12 new charter schools across the state, right? And we have never actually had that many get authorized in a given year. So I just want to make sure people understand that what we're talking about is a small potential increase in school options, but that it would be in communities that are currently not allowed to have more options, like Boston. So those are communities that are at the cap, like Boston, Holyoke, Lawrence, and others. But the reason why I and others who feel the way I do think this is important is that we really care about parent choice. Right now there are 30,000 families across the state who are on waiting lists, 10,000 or so in Boston. And there are also families on waiting lists in BPS, which basically means that everybody wants more great schools. At Boston Collegiate, we have over 2,000 families on the waiting list. And I see that because I'm there when we pull the names out of the hat and paste them up on the boards, and there are people crying because their kid is number 700. It's painful to watch. We need more quality options for families in Boston. The second thing that's really important is that we need more innovation in this city. We want to see more innovative practices across the city. We want to see more things like what Boston Collegiate does with the Jeremiah Burke, where we partner with that school to help lift them out of turnaround status, which we did, and they were the first level 4 school to get out of turnaround status. Why did we do that? We had flexibility in our teacher schedules. We could send them over there. Their teachers could come to our school. Those are the kinds of things that happen when you have schools that are just hardwired to be innovative, which is what charter schools are. The third reason that we want to lift the cap on charter schools is that it will actually mean there will be more time on learning in communities like Boston. Charter schools are known for having longer school days, longer school years, more time. Boston has the shortest school day in the nation. Kids get out of school 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the city. It's ridiculous. Charter schools go for a longer day, and that means that if we had more charter schools, there'd be more time on learning. And for those of you who are parents in the room, that means more education. What that time on learning and the innovative practices that charter schools are able to employ actually leads to is outcomes. We know that, and the Stanford University Credo Institute has put out a study that indicates that charter schools actually produce the equivalent of 1.5 more months of learning in reading and 2.5 more months of learning in math in a given year for their kids. That's like going to school a whole bunch of extra because of the quality of education that charter schools are producing. And most importantly, charter schools are held accountable for what we do. Last year, there was a charter school that was actually shut down because the state found that they weren't getting the job done. We don't see that happen as much in BPS. That accountability is for real, and that's one of the reasons why we should have more schools that offer great options for families, that are held accountable, that are producing results.
So Councilor Jackson, you are very concerned about the effect of question 2, and so tell us why you've become so passionate and are speaking out strongly against it.
The reason why I'm so passionate about this issue is because Shauna is wrong about the money. And in Roxbury, we know if you take money out of my pocket, then it hurts. And so what we see in the Boston Public Schools is we receive $215 million from the state of Massachusetts. Shauna and the other charters take $160 million of that $215 million to educate their students. In addition, $15 million of that 215 goes to transport their students. So we lose about $175 million of the $215 million that we receive, leaving about $40 million. And Shauna talks about the reimbursement. Well, that reimbursement has been funded at about 60% since we got our new governor. So they don't actually send us the reimbursement. In addition, for those people who actually do these budgets, let's actually look at the people who do these budgets and what they're saying. Over 140 school committees across the state of Massachusetts are no on two. The NAACP is no on two. National NAACP has said that there should be a moratorium on charters. Black Lives Matter is not on board with yes on two. And in addition, people who you wouldn't normally see together on this, the Mass Municipal Association, the mayor of the city of Boston, and countless other organizations. Charters actually take money from over 2/3 of the school districts in the state of Massachusetts. In addition, there is not accountability for charters. One, there's not accountability for charters in the discipline practices that many of them employ. We have charters in the city of Boston that suspend over 40% of their students, and after they're suspended multiple times, they typically come back to schools in the Boston Public Schools. And we take everybody. In the Boston Public Schools, we have over 4,000 homeless students that we take care of on a day-to-day basis, and we are proud to accept all of those students. And the question really should be, in the state of Massachusetts, where we're #1 in public education in the United States of America, and 96% of students in the state of Massachusetts go to district public schools. We are talking about 4% of the population, and why aren't we focusing on the public schools and making public schools better as a whole? In addition, let's talk a little bit about this, the component that they talk about around them being more popular than us, right? So it's not about your waiting list, it's about when people get a seat, where do they actually go? In Boston, when we offer a middle or high school student a seat, 75%, or 3 out of 4 of them, actually come to our schools. For charter schools in Boston, if you offer a seat, 60% of middle school students go to a charter, but at the high school level, only 30% of them accept a high school seat. And by the way, we are right down the street from Boston Latin Academy. Why do I bring up Boston Latin Academy? Because it is the #1 school in the state of Massachusetts for college acceptance. In addition, Boston, and actually #2 is Swampscott. That's where the governor lives. #3 is Boston Latin School. #22 is the O'Brien. #37 is Snowden. And also #76 is New Mission, and Boston Community Leadership Academy is number 78. We are doing some great things with our Boston Public Schools. In addition, you're not the only ones who innovate. We innovate on a regular basis also. We have 4 two-way bilingual schools, and one of those schools, and this is another issue, charters in Boston only educate 12.4% English language learners. Well, the Boston Public Schools, we're happy to educate 30% of our students who are English language learners, and have schools like Boston International that recently, this is a school with 84% of its students who are English language learners, 100% of students whose parents don't speak English, and they are now a level 1 school in the city of Boston. To quote a famous poet, named Kool Moe Dee, how you like me now?
So I think we could go on for quite a while. We're going to have to end it there. I think we have learned a lot, and I appreciate both Councilor Jackson and Shauna Barone for being here. If we could give them both a round of applause for coming out tonight to try to
Thank you.
help us understand the issue better.